traditional Shalom Aleichem?
Yeah. What key were we in?
Let's see. How about I think it's E minor?
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yalalalai, Yalalalai, Yalalalai,
One of my favorite pieces of that song that we just sang, that beautiful song, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, welcome and peace be upon you, O ministering angels. Boachem l'shalom, enter in peace, and at the end of Shabbat, Seidchem l'shalom, may you go out in peace. As we enter this Shabbat of peace and rest, we read in our Torah portion this week, Ki Tisa, which starts off talking about the trauma of this moment of the golden calf, but then kind of shifts gears and talks about the importance of keeping Shabbat. The text says, 6 days work may be done, but on the seventh day there shall be a Shabbat Shabbaton, a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to God. And we see also in this week's Parsha the text of Vishamru, our prayer that we often sing as our song for Shabbat. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. The Israelites shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It shall be a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Indeed, that is our task as we enter into this holy time of Shabbat, is to find opportunity and a reminder of the possibility of finding rest, of finding refreshment, of taking a step back from the busyness of the 6 days of work and really just delighting in this beautiful time that we have of Shabbat. So we'll bring a little bit of extra light into our Shabbat celebration tonight as we invite up Elisa Coyle, our bat mitzvah this weekend, along with her family, Michael and Amelia and Katie Coyle and Carol and Kevin Coyle, to lead us in candle lighting on page 2 or 120. Just Katie, Michael, Elisa, Amelia. All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher Shanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Turn to page 5, or 123, and Elisa and her family are going to lead us in Kiddush. You can take off your mask if you want.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'chatzavanu v'shabbat kosho be'ahava u'ratzon chimchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereishit ki hu yom techila v'likra'ei kodesh zecher yetziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon Kinchatanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Mazel tov to Elisa and your family. Excited to celebrate with you tomorrow morning. We will continue as we welcome Shabbat into our midst as a guest of honor. Lechado D is on page 20 or 138.
Lechadodi rakala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi rakala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor zachor b'diborecha ishmi anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'tila lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat v'kulanel pagim mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesuka sof ma'aseh b'machshava tefila. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitorevri ki ba'orech kumi ori uri shidaberi kavod Adonai alayich nigla. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Oh, we the Shabbat.
Baruch Hu, our call to prayer on page 28 or 146. Page 32 or 150, we sing these words of love. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto. Leolam Vaed.
You can be seated. On page 36 or 154, I'd like to invite up our upcoming bat mitzvah, Adeline Evans, to lead us in Ve'ahavta. Page 36 or 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתן לבניך ודיברתם בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
Continue with our song of redemption, page 40 or 158, Mi Chamocha.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Torah tehilot osef eleh, Torah tehilot osef eleh, Adonai yimlok leolam va'ed. Malchutaka ra'uvanecha, bokeh ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimlok leolam va'ed. Gael elai lai 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 lai, Gael elai lai 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 lai, Gael elai lai 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 lai. Norah tehilot osef eleh, Norah tehilot osef eleh, Adonai yimlok leolam va'ed.
ונאמר כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. We'll turn the page now, page 42 and 160, and offer our prayer for peace and shelter and protection. We ask that we are able to lie down in peace and get a good night's sleep. Sometimes that's hard. So we ask for a little help, and then we ask that we wake up in the morning refreshed, renewed, ready to face the day. So let's join together in Hashkivenu, and then we'll jump down to where it's indented for the second part, Ushmor Tzeitenu. Let's join together.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzetenu, uvoenu, l'chaim u'shalom, me'ata le'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
As Rabbi Heath said, this week's Torah portion includes these famous words that we're about to sing on page 44 or 162. This is our anthem, the words of Ishamru. Let's sing.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני,
עשה אדוני
את השמיים ואת הארץ,
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We'll turn to the words of the Amidah, or standing prayer. They begin on page 46 or 164. We'll sing the first three blessings together and then continue in silence through the end of the Amidah. This is a good time to have some quiet with your own thoughts, your own prayers. And when you're finished, you can be seated. Please rise.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך. Oh, eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Oh, eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav le'hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'gevurot, umido melech, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. page 60 or 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol Shalom, ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. L'tov benecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
We turn now to page 253 or 371 for our healing prayer. This is an opportunity for us to direct our intention, direct all of our strength, all of our patience, all of our love towards those who are in need of healing, healing of body or healing of spirit. We pray for their speedy recovery. We pray for their wholeness. We pray for our own strength to support them. Today we are especially praying for Deb Altschuler, Brian Covert, Carol Emmerich, Karen Gamaran, Marilu Garfinkel, Selena Glader, Susan Carlson, Frida Height, Marianne Hinden, Dorothy Huppert, Moritz Huppert, Marvin Jones, Harold Muckamal, Esra Ozturk, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Diane Rolfe, Stephen Abraham Simon, David Baruch Ben Simona, Donna Spanger, Nicole Gent-Wickenheiser, and Diane Woodward. If you're praying for someone tonight, please say their name aloud. We're in the middle of 253, 371.
Mishebera avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha
I heard a story a few years back about a person reading on a airplane. As the plane began its final descent, the flight attendant got on the intercom and reminded the passengers to put away their tray tables, pull their seats forward, and gather all the trash for disposal. She also reminded people to please turn off their books. And while I know electronic devices can now be used throughout one's flight, what a world we live in. A request that, if heard even just 15 years ago, people would have been baffled by. But it makes perfect sense today. iPads and Kindles were put away only to be picked up again after touchdown. Please turn off your book. Jews are called the people of the book. Our history demonstrates this. Whether the book in question is a scroll, a legal code, a collection of poetry, a personal diary, a bound volume, a paperback novel, or a Kindle. Books have been at the center of our evolution as a people, from the opening words of Genesis to the best Israeli novels of the 21st century. As Rabbi Larry Hoffman notes in the introduction to his book, 100 Great Jewish Books, whatever Judaism might be, it has consistently demonstrated a particular fondness for books. Since books are nothing if not records of things said, Judaism may be best defined as an ongoing conversation. Hoffman and others ask us to find our place in the conversation. Think about our people and books for a moment. In a few weeks, we will gather to read the story of Esther, the story of the survival of the Jews of Shushan, probably first written down over 2,400 years ago. 1 month after Purim, we'll gather at our Seder tables and tell the story of freedom from the Haggadah. And while today there are many different types of Haggadot, the tradition of reading the Haggadah, the book that guides the Seder, dates back to the Middle Ages. On Simchat Torah in the fall, we literally dance with our Torah scrolls. Or take a trip to Israel and visit the world-renowned Israel Museum, home to Chagall's and Picasso's, but also home to the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient manuscripts discovered at the dawn of the modern state of Israel in caves near Qumran, an ancient city on the Dead Sea. They are over 2,000 years old and include the oldest known written fragments of the Hebrew Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls are not just fascinating historical documents, but part of a Jewish pilgrimage. According to the Israel Museum webpage, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls represents a turning point in the study of the history of the Jewish people. In ancient times, turning point in the study of the history of the Jewish people in ancient times, for never before has a literary treasure of such magnitude come to light. Of course, it's not just these sacred books that have cemented our connection as a people. It's Rashi and Maimonides, the Aleppo Codex or the Cairo Geniza, the magical Golem and the Klutzes of Chelm, Emma Goldman and Shalom Aleichem, Roth and Bellow and Ozick, Agnon and Anne Frank, Yehuda Amichai and Hannah Senish, Sidurs and Ketubas and Machzors. Rabbi David Ibn Zimra of the 16th century teaches that if one buys a new book, he should recite the benediction of the Shehechianu. At Beth Am, we study Talmud and Torah weekly. Beth Am men and Beth Am women have book groups. Our Sunday schoolers love visiting our library, and many of them subscribe to PJ Library, an amazing program which sends free, award-winning books that celebrate Jewish values and culture to families with children from birth through 12 years old. Last year, our member, Karen Huberman, brought the amazing documentary to Beth Am about the Ringelblum Archive. I had never heard of it before. A collection of documents and solicited written testimonies and reports about life in the Warsaw Ghetto. As the Nazis liquidated the ghetto, the archives were hidden to be found after the war. There is still a missing cache of documents rumored to be buried beneath the Chinese embassy in Warsaw. I love the words of the medieval Spanish poet Yehuda Halevi. My pen is my harp and lyre. My library is my garden and orchard. The phrase people of the book is actually rooted in the Quran, the holiest book of Islam. The original phrase likely refers to non-Muslim religious groups whom the Prophet Muhammad thought were following a sacred literature, primarily Christians and Jews. As our religion has grown and evolved, it is often seen as a positive phrase that promotes the desire for Jewish communities to be engaged with intellectual pursuits. Some even suggest that our relationship with our sacred literature has kept us connected as a people. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, in 1915, writes an essay called The Educated Jew. The conditions under which the Jews were compelled to live during the last 2,000 years promoted study in a people among whom there was already considerable intellectual attainment. Throughout the centuries of persecution, practically the only life open to the Jew which could give satisfaction was the intellectual and spiritual life. Other fields of activity and of distinction which divert men from intellectual pursuits were closed to Jews. Thus, they were protected by their privations from the temptations of material things and worldly ambitions. Driven by circumstance, Brandeis continues, to intellectual pursuits, their mental capacity gradually developed. And as men delight in that which they do well, there was an ever-widening appreciation of all things intellectual. And since we're the people of the book, we should be extra concerned about threats on books. Increasingly around the country at state and local levels, there are those encouraging and advocating for school boards and libraries to ban or remove books. The American Library Association recently said that it received an unprecedented 330 reports of book challenges, each of which can include multiple books last fall. This year alone, a Texas state representative put more than 800 books on a watch list, many of them dealing with race and LGBTQ issues. An Oklahoma state senator filed a bill to ban books that address sexual perversion, among other things, from school libraries. Some of the books under fire include To Kill a Mockingbird, The Bluest Eye, Beloved, Of Mice and Men. And as many of you know, earlier this month, Tennessee's McMinn County School Board voted 10-0 to ban Art Spiegelman's Mouse, the award-winning graphic novel about the Holocaust, from use in middle school classes. In Mouse, Spiegelman follows his Jewish parents in 1940s Poland from their early experiences of anti-Semitism to their internment in Auschwitz. It shares a deeply personal experience of victims and survivors of the Holocaust. Mouse remains the only graphic novel ever to win the Pulitzer Prize. It also has been an entry point into Holocaust education for a generation of people of all backgrounds, inspiring critical thinking about our role in the world. The author, Azar Nafisi, who wrote the best-selling and won banned in her own country, the famous book Reading Lolita in Tehran, wrote in last week's Washington Post, "It is alarming to think that American communities in 2022 are actively seeking to deprive people of the reading experiences for which my students in Iran paid such a heavy price. For I can tell you, book bans are canaries in coal mines, indicators of the direction in which a society is moving. In recent years, we have seen how truth is replaced by lies and how dangerous a cultivated ignorance can be, especially when it is embraced by political leaders and loud media commentators, those with the largest bullhorns. Book banning is a form of silencing, and it is the next step along a continuum, one that I worry even in the United States presages a future slide towards totalitarianism. It is essential that communities unite to resist this trend. And what I keep coming back to is, we cannot be indifferent. We must read and share and press into the hands of students any books we believe it is in the young people's right to encounter. As Ray Bradbury once said, you don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. Just get people to stop reading them. Certainly, educators and parents and librarians should make wise choices about the appropriate age to read certain books. And I do believe that there's a place for parental involvement in school literary choices. But on the whole, I trust librarians and teachers to make wise decisions on what to read for our children. I love what Rabbi Barbara Simons wrote. I must point out that those who are banning books for sexual content would have to ban a good portion of the Torah, plus her commentary and midrashim, and we don't even want to talk about the Talmud. While no 13-year-old wants to ascend the bima and chant about bodily emissions or childbirth or forbidden sexual unions, one of the messages is that the Torah, and therefore Judaism, speaks to every aspect of life, if we but let it. It is upon us to dig deeper through a combination of interactive study, commentary, and life experiences. Books have always been part of who we are. With a good book, you are never alone. See this sermon as one, a call to action and attention. We must rise up and fight book banning and book removal in all forms. But just as important in my mind, too, an invitation to engage with our sacred texts. Yes, today they have expanded to platforms our grandparents and great-grandparents could have never imagined. But we remain the people of the book. So pick one up. Shabbat Shalom.
We'll continue with Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 282 or 586. Please rise. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, Lateit Gedula Liotzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu V'goyeh Haratzot, V'lo Samanu Kamishpechot Adama, Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Kahem, V'gor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, V'anachnu Korim U'mishtachavim U'modim Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 287 or 591. V'nemar Tehaya Adonai Lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yhyeh You can be seated. We'll prepare for the prayer of memory. Page 290 or 594. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. When I say the name of your loved one, please rise in their honor. Then we'll have a chance for other mourners to share the names of their loved ones, and then we'll all rise and say Kaddish together. Beth Am community is in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, for Sam Strober, Helene Barnes, Marge Axelrod, Jerry Allen, Jerry Blum, Lillian Sarver, and David Corman. We're observing the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death of Marjorie Adderson, Eugene Angel, Scott David Aronowitz, Benjamin August, Janice Beiser, Joel Bennett, Avraham Ben Yaakov, Renee Bine, William Bloomfield, Francis Borman, Stephen Bronstein, Harold Brook, Max Cantor, Ray Cohn, William Crankshaw, Harry Deitch, Sigmund Danzansky, Fran Eisenstadt, Manny Fargetstein, Linda Foldetta, Jerome Fox, Lillian Fromkes, Roberta Gerlich, Abraham Gershman, Eleanor Gershman, Joseph Gilbert, Letty Lou Haber Gilbert, Harold Glick, Arnold Goldbaum, Esther Goldbaum, Marjorie Smerling Goldbaum, Lena Goldberg, Melvin Grace, Kevy Greenwald, Blanche Haberman, Ernestine Hendel, Shariar Hermand, Henry Hirsch, Shirley Holden, Joel Honigberg, Joseph Jones, Annette Kahn, Ron Kay, Arthur Kellman, Solomon Hozioski, Evelyn Corin Jacobs, Ruth LeVour, Stanley Levinson, Irving Levinson, Zane Andrew Levitt, Jesse Levy, Grace Lewis, Dvoira Lomazova, George Luft, Jacob Merzer, Sidney Miller, Barbara Mindell, Henry Moose, Naum Pevsner, Lucille Poteet, Rena Ratner, Erwin Remsen, Harry Rinsky, Lee Rinsky, Florence Rosenberg, Edith Rubison, Howard Sanders, Samuel Schatz, Rose Schneider, Harriet Schnur, Rose Schwartz, Sydney Schwartz, Emily Schaefer, Nettie Shapiro, Joseph Shatsky, Loretta A. Silberman, Joseph Silberstein, Amelia Taub Smerling, Riva Solidar, Nat Spector, Marvin Stark, Arnold Stern, Barry Stock, Ida Tepper, Etta Wiseman, Bernice Whitman, Charles Whitmore, Gerald Yeeses, and David Zwarenstein. If there's someone else that you're missing tonight, please rise and share their names with us. We turn to page 294 or 598 and rise for Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yit hadar, v'yit alev, v'yit halal, shemei dekudsha barichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. I want to call your attention to our tzedakah box. It's right there behind our fabulous tech team. And this month we are collecting tzedakah for our sister congregations in Ukraine, Congregation Beth Am of Poltava and Shirat Hayam of Odessa. This is an important time to support these congregations in Ukraine, so I hope you'll be generous. You can read more about them on our website. You can also donate on our website or donate through Venmo at Beth-Am. We will close our service with a prayer for peace. Peace will yet come.
Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam. Salam, shalom, salam, aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu. Shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks to the band. Play us out.
La 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 la, hi la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, hi la la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Oh, say shalom.